Hello mga ka-learners! Welcome to another episode. From the other lessons, you discovered who you are and how you can share more of your thoughts and feelings with others. With all of these in mind, we will now try to discover how you can improve your relationships with others. After this lesson, you should be able to: Number 1, explain the key principles in communication. Number 2, identify common communication misconceptions. Number 3, define what perception is. Number 4, define what empathy is. And number 5, identify other behaviors that can help you build good relationships with others. There are many factors to consider if you want to relate better to others. These include communication, perception, and empathy. You will learn more about these as you go along. It is important to know that communication does not only refer to the things we say or hear, but also the things we show or see. Do you think the girl is really okay? Notice that even if she said she was okay, her facial expression indicated she was not. Most of the time, people do not really mean what they say. We often hide our true feelings for various reasons. Unfortunately, actions do speak louder than words. These are so-called non-verbal messages. What do you know about communication? Do you want to know more about it? Communication can be both intentional or unintentional. Intentional communication takes place when we mean the things that we actually say to other people. Unintentional communication, on the other hand, occurs when we do the opposite of what we say or give private remarks. You may not be aware of your sour expression, but others do notice them. It is impossible not to communicate with others. Your facial expressions, movements, and other non-verbal behaviors reveal that even if you stop talking, you don't stop communicating. You cannot take back what you have already said. Have you ever experienced saying something that you regretted later? Unfortunately, you cannot take back what you've already said. Further explanations can clear up confusion, or an apology can ease a conflict. There are times, however, no amount of explanation can repair the damage you already created. Misconceptions are wrong beliefs about certain things. Below are some of the common misconceptions about communication and our relationships with others. Number 1, more communication is always better. While not communicating enough can cause problems, too much talking can also be a mistake. Sometimes, too much communication is simply unproductive. When two people are feeling angry and hurt, for example, they say things they do not mean and will regret later. In such cases, it's probably best to spend time cooling off, thinking about what to say and how to say it. Number 2, communication can solve all problems. There are times when even the best planned, best timed form of communication cannot solve a problem. Read the following dialogue for better understanding. Did communication solve the student's problem? Of course not. Sometimes, communication can even be the root of the problem. Number 3, communicating with others is natural for us. Unlike breathing, communicating well requires training and practice. Yes, we can communicate without much formal training. However, most people communicate at a level of effectiveness that is far from what they are capable of doing. Perceptions refer to our impressions of people and things. There are things that keep us from finding out the truth about people. Some things distract us and cause us to have a wrong perception. As a result, we tend to have a negative relationship with other people. It is important to know about some common mistakes on perception. Let us find out what the common mistakes in perception are. Number 1, you might be influenced by what is easily seen and understood. We often notice what easily catches our attention. We only perceive sometimes the obvious. The problem is that sometimes the obvious is not necessarily important. Number 2, you may have been holding on to your very first impression. The saying, "first impressions last," is true most of the time, but not always. You should remember that we should never judge anyone. Number 3, just like most people, you may be consciously or unconsciously favoring negative impressions. Research has shown that when people are aware of both the positive and negative sides of a person, people tend to focus more on the negative side. Sometimes this attitude makes sense. If a person's negative qualities clearly outweigh the positive ones, then you should not ignore them. But most of the time, it's foolish to pay too much attention to the negative qualities and overlook the good ones. Read the dialogue. Do you think Grace can easily build a healthy relationship with others? Why or why not? With so many factors leading us to make wrong perceptions, it is not surprising that we often jump to the wrong conclusions when trying to make sense of other people's behaviors. Try this activity to boost your ability to make more accurate interpretations of others' behavior. Identify a recent behavior of a friend or family member that annoyed you. Give at least 2 possible reasons why your friend or family member behaved that way. Then, ask your friend or family member for feedback on which of your interpretations is or are correct. This way, you can give him or her a chance to explain and clarify the situation. Empathy is the ability to look at things from another person's point of view. When 2 people are angry with each other, they often fail to see each other's point of view. They can only think of their own reasons. Empathizing with someone means understanding his or her perspective. This understanding requires suspending your judgment, setting aside your own opinions and those of another. So, how can you empathize with someone? Number 1, be open-minded. This means being able to set aside your own values, beliefs, and attitudes to consider those of other people. Understand another person's side and agree or disagree when you have to. Number 2, be imaginative. You also need a vivid imagination to be able to picture another person's thoughts and feelings. Number 3, be committed. Being empathic entails facing the challenges ahead. Once you decide to become empathic, you can't just stop. Here are some qualities that are important in building good relationships with others. Friendliness. Exerting effort to get to know people and be nice to them. Respect. Considering how others will feel about your actions. Tolerance. Being able to bear and accept other people's weaknesses. Conflict resolution skills. Being able to talk things over or resolve differences with other people. Coping skills. Being able to adapt to different people and situations.